What's up everybody? Welcome to a new video and another new build. Pretty busy lately, doing heaps and heaps of new things amongst trying to get his other stuff done. It's crazy, but we're really looking forward to this one. We think it's going to be a really nice, pretty straightforward build, and it's going to be good fun and a really good end product, we believe. So unfortunately, no, it's not this VX wagon. This is simply the donor car. We're going to be pulling the engine out of this, and it's going to be going into a GU Patrol. So what we've got here is a factory V8 VX Holden wagon, which is a bit of a shame really. You all know that I've got a big soft spot for long roofs. So when he first told me that this donor car was actually a wagon, I had it in my head that it was a sedan the whole time, and when he came to pick up my trailer to bring the donor out, he told me it was a wagon, and I got very excited. I thought, you beauty, we can pull this motor out of this one, and I'll pull the wiring loom and everything else out of another one of our donors and put that motor in here, and I'll fix myself up a wagon. But unfortunately, it's a little bit far gone for that. It's been sitting for over 6 years, and you know, all the rubber's starting to perish. It's pretty far gone. It's too much work for what I thought or what I thought that I could do with it. So we're not going that way with it, but it is cool to see a factory V8 wagon. They are super rare and they're a super cool thing. Personally, I'm a big fan. So what we've got here is just your run-of-the-mill LS1 VX. It has direct port nitrous injection. No, it's got 241 heads on it, so it's got the good heads, which is awesome. So what we're doing is basically just a mildly canned aspirated LS in a manual GU Patrol. Pretty straightforward conversion. Should make it a really nice little touring truck. We've picked a nice little cam for this thing, which should be bloody spot on. And as far as LS conversions into your GU, what we're doing in this build is probably going to be just about the most simple and budget friendly option that you've got. So you know, as great as the 6-litre LSs are, or the 6.2s even, they are quite a bit more expensive than the 5.7s. The prices do jump quite a bit. So the owner of this build actually already had this donor car. It had been sitting in his yard for years, so it was a no-brainer to pull this engine out and put it in that. We're going to be using Mark's 4-wheel drive gear, all again, pretty much exclusively Mark's 4-wheel drive equipment. Same as last conversion. We're super impressed with their products and the fitment and just the general quality of their products. So we're going with that. Much like the last GQ that we did build, we're doing the full Mark's 4-wheel drive adapters exhaust system. It's another one of those things where you might think it's expensive, but once you have to start actually building an exhaust, a complete exhaust to suit a conversion like that, including the headers, it starts to look pretty cheap when you start looking at how much time and material is involved in doing such a thing. So straight up bolt-in exhaust, we're really impressed with the one we used on the GQ. It fit awesome and it sounded great, so we bought another one of them for this. Stay up. Well, that's just not gonna do. We'll let that drop down. So outside of that, we've just got a full Mark's 4-wheel drive conversion kit for this engine, doing one of our own Onsong Performance can kits. For the wiring for this particular conversion, we have booked in with our boys down there at Whitey's Wiring, because the mail order loom that we got for the GQ is still giving us troubles to this day. It's actually at our boy Tyler there at Rewire at Cunda Park. He's sorting out quite a few issues with it at the moment, so big shout out to Tyler at Rewire. But I digress. Just for this conversion, we've decided to just book it in with the boys at Whitey's Wiring, get them to wire in the whole conversion, and we should have a trouble-free conversion this time around. So obviously, with retaining the factory manual GU gearbox as well, it simplifies a lot of things. It simplifies a lot of the cluster and speedo and everything else. So there's a lot of things that are going to be very different to the GQ as far as just how simple this conversion should be compared to what that was. So it should be a nice, quick, easy build. And first things first, rip this LS out. And I'll put you on a quick time lapse to that because you've seen us do that a bloody million times. So first things first, gonna get a battery into this thing and just power it up to check how many Ks are on it. We were told by the owner that it had very low Ks, around 160,000. And our plan is to do a completely stock bottom end. We're hoping to get away with not even touching the bottom end in this thing, just doing our cam kit and leaving the bottom end alone in the interest of keeping it nice and cheap. And especially if the Ks are correct, if it has only got such low Ks on it, there should be no reason for us to have to do anything to the bottom end of this thing. Good old LSs, as long as they're looked after, they wear really well, and they're usually pretty healthy with those sorts of low Ks on them. That'll do it. See how many Ks are on this puppy. Woo, woo, woo. 159,000 Ks. I wasn't lying, 160,000 Ks. So, very low Ks for an LS1. This bottom end should be absolutely fine as long as it's been looked after. We will obviously be pulling the heads anyway, so we will be able to check the condition of the bores, and obviously with the sump off we can just quickly check over the bottom end, making sure everything's nice and tight. But yeah, at those sorts of Ks, an LS1 should be mint. It is such a shame to see such a low Ks factory VAG wagon like sort of get let go like this, but you know, then again, it's been parked up for 6 years. 6 years ago, no one would have batted an eye at this sort of thing. You know, it's one of those things, no one can predict the future. It's unfortunate at the moment because of what's going on, but you know, back then, I mean, about 4 years ago, I parted out a Tiger Mica VT2 SS manual with 210,000 Ks on it that was otherwise mostly all right. All matching numbers, and you know, same thing, I bought that car for $2,000 back then, factory manual VT2 SS, so no traction control or anything like that. Pretty sought after item at the moment, and in Tiger Mica in a VT. You know, it's a very sought after car now, and they're pulling good money, but even back then, I wouldn't have predicted that things have gone the way they're gone. And yeah, I parted that out to build a drift car, so you can just never tell with these things. Alright, so just cruising around doing the thing. Something that's a little bit worrying is the condition of this sump. As you can see, it's been absolutely welded the crap out of at some point, which is a little bit worrying because obviously it's been hit by something or copped something and smashed it, and I'm a bit worried that if this has happened while the car was driving, it may have been at some point ran very dry of oil, which would obviously do a lot of damage. So that's a little bit worrying, but we'll obviously check a few things when we pull that sump off and have a look and see what's inside, but it's not the best sign. Things like that then also don't give me a huge amount of confidence that this is the original engine either, so it may not be a low Ks motor, because if something like that had happened, it might have cooked the engine, they might have had to put a replacement in. But that being said, if they had to put a replacement in, why wouldn't they just replace the sump? Why would they put that sump back in? So I don't know, but not the best thing to find. No, it doesn't really matter about that sump because we're changing it for the GU anyway, but it's more so just what would have happened and what could have happened. Righto guys, the next thing that's somewhat of a worry is green coolant. As you guys know, or most of you would know, you always want red coolant in your LS. So the reason for this, which a lot of people aren't educated about, is that the red is a glycol-based coolant, which is important when it comes to the corrosion of alloys. So the glycol-based coolant is a much better inhibitor for corrosion when it comes to aluminium, which is why we use it in all alloy engines like this. So that's a little bit of why. Righto guys, so we've got one LS1 out of the car ready to be cleaned up and pulled down to a short motor so that we can do what we have to do to it. As you can see, very corroded at the front. We'll have a better condition balance of that for sure to swap over onto this thing. We'll probably put another water pump on it because this one's quite sad, so we might put a new seal in another one of our water pumps that's a bit better condition and put it on it. And yeah, everything else will just get really cleaned up. Probably just paint this whole thing black in the theme of a lot of the engines we do. We do like black. We'll see how it cleans up, but we'll give it a bit of a blast and a clean up first before we start pulling stuff off it because it's very greasy and gross. Nothing quite as satisfying as getting over 20 years of grime and grease and oil off an engine. It's very satisfying. Much better. So, time to start pulling it apart. And I've got a little space to put everything where it's not going to be in the way and it can stay here until it's ready. Whee! Oh yeah, yum. Righto guys, so we're pulled down to pretty much a short for now, as far as I want to get it pulled down for now. The bottom end feels awesome. There's nothing particularly alarming in the sump. It's pretty hard to tell with all that welding in the bottom of it exactly what's going on in there, but doesn't seem to be heaps of metal in there, so nothing alarming. The bottom end all feels fine. It's turning over nice and smooth. You know, the only thing that really looks like it might be not 160,000 Ks is just the oil staining, which I suppose is typical of, you know, a stock engine that's been together for 20 years. It's been literally sitting for 6 years, so, you know, it could still very well be the case. But regardless, it doesn't really make a lot of difference because there's nothing alarming enough for us to want to pull this bottom end apart. So on the bores, I can't show you at the moment, but there's a few bores which were obviously, the pistons were right at the top, and there was just a little bit of corrosion around the bottom side of the bore, right at the very top. The rest of the bores all look fine. The actual bore on those bores further down looks fine, so it'll just be a matter of pretty much scraping off that corrosion right at the top, but apart from that they all look great. So yeah, pretty much we're in the ballpark for what we want to do. So anyway, tomorrow I'll just pull the balancer off and pull the front cover off an oil pump and then the rear cover off and basically start my cleaning up process of doing all the cleaning, which is quite boring for you all. I'm not going to film it all for you, as you've all seen it. It's just a hell of a lot of cleaning always goes into doing this, so plenty of cleaning to be done. Get these heads off to the machine shop to get them surfaced. Probably going to take about 40 thou off them. Give this thing a bit of poke to move this four-wheel drive around. Should be great. And then we'll move on to our assembly process after that. So we'll tune back in then. That'll be enough for this episode. LS1's good to go. We'll get stuck into getting it ready. Thanks for watching as always, guys. Hope you're looking forward to the build. See you on the next episode. Don't forget to head to the store, buy yourself some merch, go into the draw to win this month's giveaway. Smash like, smash subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out. See you. Bye.